Our next speaker, Ted Rodgers, correct? I did not get a bio on him, so I will give you what I have. He is the husband of the Nutmeg Lady and Don Boyer's neighbor. Ted started out as a kid. He was born on his birthday. He called his parents Mom and Dad. And he's going to speak to us tonight on one of my favorite subjects. An introduction to ron, or as they say here in America, rum. Actually, he'll tell you more about himself. Thank you. I didn't get anything.
Get the light hooked up here. In theory. Okay, well, good evening. Tonight I'm going to talk to you guys about rum, what it is, its history, some interesting anecdotes, how it's made, and finally, and probably most importantly, how to make the ultimate rum punch so you can always enjoy a little bit of the Caribbean here in Colorado. First, let's look at what rum is not. Rum is not wine, it is not beer. Both wine and beer start using yeast for the fermentation process, as does rum. However, that's just where the similarity ends. When rum is finished fermenting, it then moves on to a second step of purification, distillation. Distillation is the process of separating mixtures based on differences of volatility in a compound in a boiling liquid. It's a physical separation. It's not a chemical process. It's the same process that's used to separate gasoline from crude oil. Rum and whiskey are both distilled beverages. Truths to live by. So where do we get the word rum? The most probable explanation is that it's a truncation of the word rumbullion, a word that entered the English language in 1654 and was slang for tumult or revolt. Now, the first use of mention of what would later be called rum was by Marco Polo in the 14th century as he traveled through what is now Iran, and he described a very good sugar wine. The origins of that beverage were from India in the 1st century. The beginning of rum in the New World started out in the early 16th century as slaves began to ferment the molasses residue that was a byproduct from sugar manufacturing. So now, the fermenting of molasses was a very, very dirty drink. So plantation owners turned to distillation to purify the liquid resulting in rum. This still that we saw just this past year was built in Grenada in the mid-1700s and is still in use today. Think on that, 1700s, a rum still. The oldest rum distillery in continuous operation is the Mount Gay Distillery in Barbados. Though there is some sketchy evidence that the distillery operated in the 1650s, there is hard data, land title deeds, that show the distillery was in full operation by 1703. Now, the first North American distillery was founded in 1664 and found a very brisk market. By the time of the American Revolution, get this, the per capita rum consumption was a whopping 3 gallons in the colonies for every man, woman, and child. Washington insisted on a cask of rum for his inauguration. The Royal Navy began to give daily rum rations to its crew in 1665. Soon this was changed to grog, which was a mixture of rum, lime juice, and water. It's the precursor to our modern-day rum punch. The lime helped prevent scurvy. Grog rations did not end until 1970. Admiral Nelson, when Horatio Nelson was killed in the Battle of Trafalgar, his body was pickled in a cask of rum for the return voyage. Back in Britain, they opened the cask and found Nelson, but there was no rum, as the crew had drilled a hole in the cask and drank the rum. This is the root of the rum toast tapping the Admiral. Now, this is even better. Privateers gave rum rations, as did pirates, though of much lesser quality. Now, interesting aside, recent scholarship suggests that a significant number of pirates were either bisexual or homosexual, giving a new twist to the old phrase, yo-ho, blow the man down. Blackbeard used rum mixed with gunpowder to control the sexual urges of his crew, as the saltpeter killed the sex drive of his crew members. So, how is rum made? It starts with a very dangerous sugarcane harvest, still a dangerous task. Back in the 18th century, though, it was so dangerous that it was estimated that there were 3 drops of slave blood in every teaspoon of sugar. Think on that. The cane was then crushed to release the juice inside. This is a cane press that we saw just this past year that was built in 1790, still in use in Grenada. The crushed cane is then used as fuel to boil the cane juice and to fire the still. The still. Thank you. These are the huge copper pots in which the cane juice is boiled down. To give some perspective, each of these pots is 6 to 8 feet in diameter and 4 feet deep. This is from an operating distillery in Grenada today. We took this picture this time last year. So from the same distillery, here is the boiled cane juice in an open air fermenter. They do not need to add yeast to start the fermentation process, as you might notice that there are enough bugs that fly into and land in the mixture to bring natural yeast to the process. Now, not all manufacture is so crude. The still on the right is from the same distillery in Grenada. The still on the left is from a beautiful state-of-the-art facility in Barbados. Again, both of these pictures from about this time last year. So, as mentioned before, a good rum punch can bring the Caribbean to Colorado. This recipe is from my good friend Brian Paravicino in Barbados, and another friend, Paul Bariamas, owner of PJ's Wine and Spirits, in honor of this presentation tonight, is offering deep discounts on Myers rum, dark rum, all weekend long. So please take advantage of that. So after the batches of rum punch are gone, you, like Johnny Depp, will be able to ask, but why is all the rum gone? Oh, and recipes for rum punch will be in the back on the table, and I brewed up about 3/4 of a gallon for everybody to try tonight. So, thank you.
I knew eventually this gig was going to pay off. Oh. Just so you'll know, Rick Fitzgerald and myself are about to go to Cuba on a rum testing excursion. I've been there before. I went with a gentleman who was in his early 80s. And I had never, being from Nebraska, I always thought rum was something you drank only with Coke. He introduced me to the art of drinking it straight, which after my wife got me out of detox, I realized was something you don't want to do too often. But I mean, this was really great. I mean, it is fun. And so far, how have you enjoyed it? Has everything been okay? You enjoyed the presenters? Thank you. Each and every one of you, absolutely amazing. Thank you. That was great. I will never destroy your name again. What was your name? No.